Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning, Battlefield fans of the universe, and welcome to another episode of Shots Fired Podcasting here with myself, KLW Hitman Pike. Joining me this evening, guys, have a very interesting gentleman who I've been meaning to get on board for a long time. Absolutely fantastic content creator. He's also an EA game changer, as well as a DICE friend. Very heavily involved in the competitive Battlefield esports scene as well. Not forgetting as well, he runs Battlefield Nations. I am bringing to you, ladies and gentlemen, this evening, no other than PresidentSlendy. Slendy, my dude, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. First of all, I would just like to say that I'm very happy and very thankful to be here. Yeah, I really appreciate the invite, man.
Oh, my dude, anytime. It's just, it's great. One of the things we were just talking about before we went live was just how this podcasting is enabling me to meet all these great people from across the community. The content creators, the people that run the esports leagues, the people that run the events. And, it's definitely an exciting time at the moment to be involved in Shots Fired podcast. But dude, yeah, I mean, it's been a crazy couple of weeks. I believe you've had some stuff going on recently, but have you got any interesting anecdotes from just things you've been up to over the last couple of days?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I could talk a little bit about what happened. So, basically, I'm living with my girlfriend at the moment, and she lives about an hour away by train from central Stockholm.
Okay.
So I'm going to university in central Stockholm. So I go there by train for 1 hour, every morning and every afternoon when I'm going home. So basically, I have a ticket, the actual train ticket on my phone. And I yesterday was simply going home.
Yeah.
And I noticed that my phone has 4% battery. And this is like an hour before I was going to take the train. So I was like, oh shit, there's no way my phone battery is going to last. And I need my phone to not be dead in order to actually, get on the train and show my ticket. So I was like, okay, it's probably fine because I usually bring my power bank with me in my bag and stuff.
Cool.
So I go to the train station and my phone actually dies in the process of doing so. So I open my bag to take out my power bank, and I can't find it for some reason. And
Oh,
I
no.
literally have it in there every single day. And yesterday for some reason I couldn't find it in my bag. So I was kind of in panic mode, I'm not even gonna be able to come home today if I can't go on the train. So I was like, okay, I need to get a charger. I need to charge up my phone. I still had about maybe 45 minutes or something. So I was like, it's all right. I'll just go and get a charger. So I went to one of this stores nearby. I don't
Cool.
know what type of store it's called exactly, but one store that sold chargers and stuff. I think he saw that I was kind of stressed out, and for some reason he managed to sell me a charger for 20 euros instead of 10 euros, which is what it actually costed.
What a
Yeah.
bugger.
Yeah, it was really a bad situation. And basically after that, I was like, okay, at least I have a charger now, so I can go charge up my phone. I go to the train station again because they have a big ticket hall and stuff. And then I noticed there are no sockets in here. There's not a single socket.
No, I suppose that's it. They're not in these modern buildings, are they?
Yeah. And then I was like, okay, well maybe if I just go look around, I'll find one. So I found one at just outside Espresso House. And I asked them can I use this socket? And they're like, yeah, it's actually not on, but if you want to charge your phone, you can go to one of these charging stations. So I was like, okay, I'll go to one of the charging stations. And I noticed that at the charging station, they don't actually have because it's just like cables for your phones, and then
Yeah.
you pay for like an hour of charging or whatever.
Okay, I've got you like a docking station. Yeah, they've got
Yeah,
something
exactly.
similar at festivals. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And they didn't even have like a USB-C cable, which is what I need basically.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, the only thing I can do now then is actually go into like uh, like a like a like a cafe or a restaurant and just buy something and sit down and use one of their sockets. So I had to do that. I had to buy a fucking coffee, even though I really don't drink coffee. And
Me
then
neither, dude. Me neither.
yeah, and then sit down and and then I finally charge up my phone, and then I have like 5 minutes left until my train leaves. So I get on the train, they scan my ticket and whatever. So I open my bag and I'm gonna like put the charger back. And then what do I see in my bag? My fucking power bank.
Oh my god, how would you manage to miss that?
I don't know. I really don't know because I was looking for it so hard, like the first time, and then for some reason it was there, but I didn't actually see it. So I literally spent like 20 euros on a new charger, and I spent like, I don't know, like maybe like five euros on like a coffee for like no
Oh, for
reason.
no reason. No
Yeah.
reason, buddy. That is absolutely wounding. I've had a similar experience myself, and you just feel like so foolish afterwards. But, you know, what can you do at the end of the day? I think it's definitely something about the way the brain works and the way we see things and the way we concentrate when we're under duress and under stress. It definitely makes it a lot harder for us to just to be able to do what we're doing. And but no, that sounds like a pretty funny situation. I'm not gonna lie. I was wondering, you know, because you said the first thing, then you said the second thing, and then you said the third thing, and I was like, you know, bad things always come in threes at the end of the day. So, you know, I mean, what? I mean, we've got a good question from Torna here in the chat, just saying, why pay for coffee when you could have just bought a Coke? I mean, that.
Yeah, that's the thing, because it's espresso house, and for some reason they didn't even sell anything but coffee.
Oh dear me. So what happened next? Did you get on the train and then the train crashed, or?
Almost. I mean, I'm barely alive right now.
Oh, well, it's definitely not for lack of coffee or drinks or chargers. That's for sure. That is for sure. But no, I mean these situations, when they happen, when they come up, when they arise, it's just you've just got to look back on it and just laugh, haven't you? Laugh at yourself, laugh at the situation, because otherwise we go a little bit mad with it, really. But no, I mean, so I do have a joke for you. I have a joke for you. I have pulled it out from the joke place in my head. So I've got a question for you, my dude. Why did why? Almost fucked it up. That's not a good start. I'm always terrible at delivering jokes. Why do Russians wear Speedos?
Um, I think Discord is lagging at the moment.
Oh, my
It was,
apologies.
yeah, no, I heard something about like speedos. What was the joke again? Could you just repeat it?
Why do Russians wear Speedos?
Oh, I have no idea.
I'll tell you why. Because Chernobyl fallout.
Oh, wow, man. Oh, that's
Yeah,
awful.
yeah, no, it's a pretty savage one. It's I'm not gonna lie, it's not one of my own. I found it somewhere, but you know, I just thought a little bit of a joke, just as a bit.
It's
of an
it's family
icebreaker.
friendly, you know.
You know, exactly. It's innocent-ish. So no, man. I mean, so just to bring us back on track a little bit more, I've been sort of looking into your work over the last couple of days. Been following your work for a number of years now, and I know you've been on the scene since approximately sort of around 2014. But I believe that's when you really sort of stepped into the content creation side of things. So what led you into content creation within Battlefield?
Well, to be honest, I always had some form of interest with like film production and editing, even though I wasn't really doing it in my like younger years actively. I think what actually got me into it was seeing Battlefield 4 cinematic by a YouTuber called Dolce, who doesn't actually make videos anymore, but he was actually very talented in making cinematics specifically for Battlefield 4. And when I watched it, I was just like blown away, and I thought I really would love to make one of those cinematics on my own. And that's basically how I started.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's how it goes for a lot of people, isn't it? Is they get inspired by other people's content and they see the goodness that, you know, people are injecting into the community and what the community's getting out of it. And it's good that, I mean, I'm sure, like, you know, you've inspired people out there to go and create their own content and throw together their own sort of ideas, and then that's sort of like how it sort of naturally rolls on, isn't it, really? But I mean, definitely, I think going back to 2014, you would have been sort of coming in around the same time of like Battlefield 4 would have been at its absolute height. So I mean, yeah, that would have been a really sort of interesting time to definitely start out. Did you concentrate on one specific kind of sort of content creation, or did you just start and think, you know, I'm going to start with photographs, I'm going to start with videos, I'm going to start with comedy, I'm going to start with, you know, something that's a little bit more descriptive, and I'm also going to start with cinematic? Did you throw that all in together, or did it sort of, you know, come one at a time?
I think it was a little bit of everything. Like in the beginning, you kind of want to try everything, you know, even though you might not really be the best at what you're doing. I think that's pretty much how it was for me. I just, first of all, wanted to make cinematics, then saw that people were making commentary videos, and they included a lot of comedy in that. I started like taking trailers for Battlefield DLCs and like making parodies out of them. I think I just to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. That sounds like yeah. That seems, again, that's pretty much the way for most people. They like to expand into one thing, see how they get on, and then they perhaps move on and try other sort of, you know, other sort of forms of content creation. But now, having looked at your work, you're obviously locking down the higher end of content creation, because you're bringing that really high quality cinematic reveals to us, you know, and a lot of other really cool looking stuff. I mean, what is your creative process? Do you sort of sit down and sort of think to yourself off game, or do you like to have ideas come to you whilst you're playing? How does that work?
To be honest, I listen to music, like outside of even being at the PC. And when I listen to specific songs, I get ideas of like, okay, this part of the song kind of would match up with something like this, and then an idea pops into my head, and maybe I move forward with that, or I don't at all. But that's how a lot of ideas come to my mind, at least when it comes to the cinematic part. When it comes to more kind of like video ideas, they can, like for commentary videos and stuff, those ideas just pop into my head randomly, and I've at least gotten better, I would say, at writing them down once they do pop into my head. But it's actually something I've been struggling a lot with in previous years, video ideas. So I think now at least I'm better at noting them down and figuring out what to do with what comes into my mind, I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, again, that's one of the issues for the majority of content creators out there, is getting into the sort of being disciplined enough with yourself to be able to, you know, when these ideas come up, is to write them down and to, you know, and to go back and look at those ideas and sort of compare them against other ideas that you've had, and maybe you'll marry two ideas together. But I've definitely found that as a content creator myself, that is one of the biggest hurdles I've had to overcome, is just having the time, the mindfulness, just to sit down and sort of almost meditate on exactly what it is, how I want to move forward with my videos. And I know that is definitely a big issue for a lot of people. I mean, is there anything that you would recommend to fellow sort of new content creators who are looking to sort of expand their creativity side and lock down their thought processes? Is there anything that you've done that makes this process easier?
Well, I think I've done some stuff that makes the process harder. So I guess I could give a tip that helps, that like a tip that you shouldn't do, and that is basically don't try to do too much. Like don't to everything. Try to find like your own niche, your own thing, and then focus on that and try to push that. Of course, experiment with other stuff. That's important. But I wouldn't say that you should try to run multiple series of different things, because in the end, it's just going to make you not make any content at all instead of a lot of content.
Sure, absolutely. So it almost in a way it becomes overwhelming, and again that's something I can tie in myself, that I've made that mistake in the past of taking too much on, and you're not able to provide that real sort of high quality content if you are spreading yourself too thin. And it can definitely be problematic, but I've always found that as long as you really do put your heart and your soul into something, you tend to get a really good sort of outcome for it, generally speaking. But yeah, it's got to be something that you've got to be able to concentrate on fully and really put yourself into. But no, it's definitely one of the harder aspects of content creation, I've found anyway. It might just be me and the way my brain works, because I'm dyslexic, so it is definitely I think a little bit different to your average Joe. But when did you start gaming anyway, dude?
Gaming I've done in my younger years a lot, to be honest. Or well, I guess it always depends on who you compare to. But I wouldn't say I started gaming like for real until I got my first console, which was when I was 10, I think. So that would be 2008. And then I played console until I was 14. Same year I turned 15. That's when my cousin helped me build a PC. And funny story, I actually got money for that PC from going to a like one of those religious camps. I don't know what it's actually called in English. Yeah, so all the money I got from that was spent on getting a PC. And yeah, that's when I started PC gaming, which was in 2013.
Yeah, 2013. So what kind of games would you have kicked off on PC then?
Straight up Battlefield 3. Like that, it was probably why. Yeah, it was probably why I wanted to start gaming on PC, because I was at a friend's place and played Battlefield 3 on his PC that same year. And I was like, this is amazing. Like I want to play this at home for myself. So that's probably what I started playing. To be honest, the first game I played on the PC was Battlefield 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the first game I downloaded and played. But then I actually moved over to Battlefield 3 and played that for 1 month. And the reason I stopped playing that after 1 month was because that's when Battlefield 4 came out.
Okay, that's, I mean, that is a great shame for you, dude, that you missed out on Battlefield 3, but I'm glad you caught that month, because Battlefield 3 was a solid build. I tell you what, when the trailer dropped for Battlefield 3, we were absolutely blown away. It was just incredible. I was so excited. Like, it was so gritty and immersive, and they just had it locked down. It had this whole realism theme about it, and it just really pushed the Battlefield series into the next generation. I mean, Battlefield 3 was where we definitely locked down that commercial side, and Battlefield went from being a relatively, I'm not going to say small game, because it was never a small game, but going back to, relatively speaking, to where we're at now and where we were at in Battlefield 3 and the number of sales that we had, it was just an incredible game, and it really enabled us to move forward and accelerate Battlefield into where we find it now. And okay, I know Battlefield's having a rough time. 2019 has been the roughest year in 14 years of being in this community, but I found myself. But that, looking back to Battlefield 3, that was just an incredible build. And then, yeah, okay, you had Battlefield 4, and I know Battlefield 4 had its issues, so probably not a great time for you to come into Battlefield. But that said, once they locked down the issues in Battlefield 4, we had some great game times, absolutely amazing game times. So, I mean, starting back in the day, obviously, it's very overwhelming playing Battlefield, and I think that's one of one of the issues that we used to have very much so before we had the smaller game modes, and a lot of them, was that people used to come in to play Battlefield and they would be a little bit overwhelmed by everything going on, because you've got all these choices of classes, all these choices of vehicles. The maps are absolutely humongous, especially if you're only used to playing games like Call of Duty and you're used to that very much high adrenaline, high octane situation where you're getting, thousands of kills in a round and you're teabagging thousands of people, and it's all kind of messy and stuff like that. Battlefield is a lot more slow, melodic, and sort of chilled out, almost in a way, game. And Battlefield 3 definitely caught that, because we only had Rush and Conquest and then a couple of other game modes. We didn't have Grand Operations. We didn't have all the smaller game modes that we're seeing on Battlefield 5. So again, it did make it a lot harder for people just to step across. But I mean, how did you find, just starting out on Battlefield? Did you find it overwhelming, or did you sort of find it was okay?
To be honest, since the first time I played it was at a friend's place on his PC, that's probably when I found it overwhelming. Then it took a few months before I had my own PC, and during those months I watched a lot of videos on it. So I knew a lot about what I was getting into already. But I would definitely say that, of course, I had a rough start when I started playing it myself. But at the same time, I loved it. I loved every moment of it.
Sure, no, absolutely. It's, I mean, that's definitely one of the best ways that you can get involved in Battlefield, is go off, watch the content creators out there on platforms like YouTube and Twitch, and sort of find your familiarity with the game that way. Another way I've found of getting in touch with the community and sort of getting in touch with the game and really learning how to play it is basically, as a new player, is to immerse yourself, is to find a group of people that play this game, that communicate well, that have got good squad cohesion, that all know how to bounce off each other. And there's plenty of communities out there, guys, for you to check out, plenty of them. So get involved with one of these communities. It will up your game. It will enable you to play in a slightly safer environment, because generally speaking, when you're playing with a PTFO squad, that really does enable you to step up your game, because you've just got that backing, like, from 3 other dudes, like, that's, and dudettes. So definitely a good way to move forward. So I was just looking back through a little bit of your content, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you are an engineer class lover. Is that correct?
No, it's not correct.
Where did I get that from then?
No, I always played medic and assault, like in every Battlefield game. So it's actually not correct.
No, where did I get that from then? Oh well, I'll rephrase the question. What is your favorite class?
Definitely the medic class / the assault class. Maybe you mixed up that the assault in Battlefield 4 and assault in Battlefield 1 are different, because well, I mostly have a lot of Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 1 content, I think.
Yeah.
And in Battlefield 4, the assault was the medic, and in Battlefield 1, the assault was more sort of an engineer, and the medic had its own class, basically.
I mean, just touching on that there for a moment, what are your thoughts on how EA DICE do seem to change up the game, sort of, I'm not going to say fundamentally, but they do seem to change certain aspects of the game up. What are your thoughts on that between series?
I think that they can definitely make positive changes between all the games. However, I think that if they try to reinvent stuff with every game that they have already got right before, I think they're honestly just wasting time and resources. And I think we've seen a little bit too much of that in previous titles.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's something they are aware of, and something they will hopefully not do too much of in the next title.
Sure, no, absolutely. I think a good example of that might be the co-op that they've introduced in Battlefield 5 now, and possibly even the War Stories, the single-player campaign. Now, I do appreciate there are people out there that enjoy co-op and single-player, but that is not Battlefield for me. And as I say, I take my roots back to way back when, 2005. So relatively long time ago, and for me that is just not representative of Battlefield. And I believe that had they not, and I don't want to sit here and sort of turn it into a sort of having a go at dicing. That's not what it is. But I do hope that, moving forward to the next sort of release of Battlefield, they realise that the community just want maps. We want loads and loads and loads of maps. We want loads and loads of vehicles. We want loads of weapons. The whole co-op thing. I don't actually know anyone who's picked it up, to be honest, personally. But
I have never even tried it. If in all honesty, I've not played a single minute of co-op in Battlefield 5.
No, I mean that's the thing. I just don't know anyone that has. And don't get me wrong. We're the passionate Battlefield community. If there's a new feature in Battlefield to try out, we're going to try it out. But I don't see any videos. I don't see any content come out about it. And all I'd say is I do hope that EA DICE see that moving forward. And I think the call from the community about the content has been a fairly explicit and clear one. We want maps, like we want new locations, and I think possibly people might even want locations that are a little bit more well known. I do like how EA DICE have brought in this whole untold stories, but I don't want them to do it at the complete expense of having no sort of well-known locations. So if they were to introduce a more well-known location, or just any location from World War II, any sort of battle, any operation, what would you most like to see?
To be honest, that's not really like my type of like thing to think about, because mostly I like to play the game for the gameplay and not so much for the actual immersion. At the same time, of course, I think immersion is cool and all, but it's not really something that I value more than the gameplay itself. If I had to pick something, I guess I would say some form of D-Day map, simply because I've never experienced playing something like that, like in a Battlefield setting. So that would be my pick, I guess. But to be honest, I would be over immersion.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And I know there's a lot of almost like technical players out there like yourself who do play very much for the gunplay, the versus, and just sort of really pick up that side of the game. Yeah, absolutely. D-Day. That would be amazing. We've all seen Saving Private Ryan. We've all seen Tom Hanks charging up the beach, having a little bit of a meltdown midway, and then charging up the rest of the beach. That's what everyone wants. I think that's what everyone wants. That's just my opinion. I'm not putting it out there absolutely, but that's the vibe I get from the community. Definitely that moving forward, that's possibly where they... where we want it to go. But I mean, what are you thinking about Iwo Jima? Are you looking forward to Pacific?
Well, I mean, after I saw at EA Play the video of them like traveling to the Pacific and visiting these locations and stuff, it looked kind of exciting from what I've seen from that. At the same time, though, it's not really my type of gameplay, I have to say. I'm a lot more for like close quarters combat these days, and it doesn't bother me that we're getting Pacific maps or anything, but it's not like something that excites me too much.
No, I understand. So I mean, again, in keeping with your sort of you're very much clinical, technical about the sort of like the gunplay and the verses, and that's that's absolutely fine, because as I say, Battlefield does an absolutely amazing job of catering for everyone there. They throw in this real sort of technical, strategic sort of need of the players, but they also do it in a way that is in an absolutely immersive environment. And you've got everything from destruction to sort of they have really reduced the weather changing, I've noticed, from Battlefield 1 to Battlefield 5, and the whole sort of the weather situation. So that's one thing I think they are definitely doing to move away from the immersion, not necessarily to make it less immersive, but to make it more playable for people like yourself who want to just sort of simply have that straightforward versus gameplay.
Oh yeah, I think so, for sure. I mean, they definitely do like their immersion, and I understand that. A lot of people buy Battlefield for immersion, and I understand that as well. I'm just not one of those players myself.
Yeah. So, as you just mentioned, you've just been away, had met up with everyone. Where was it held? Was it Germany?
Yeah, Germany, Gamescom.
Right, you are. How was it? Did you have a good time?
Oh yeah, yeah, it was a good time. Most of the guys were going on these like scooters, like they're
Oh,
all over the
cool.
city. Um, they were doing that like with all their free time. They were like just riding those. Uh,
Like a
uh,
moped gang.
Pretty much, yeah. I was not one of them though. But we had a good time for sure. A lot of hanging out with game changers and community members, meeting and talking to a lot of people,
Yeah.
playing some games. You don't want to walk around Gamescom during certain days because it's just crowded with people and
Yeah.
you can't move anywhere. So staying in the business lounge, the EA business lounge, is ideal, I would say, during those days.
Oh, sure. No, absolutely. I mean, what I've got to ask because, Germany, I would imagine it's going to be amazing. What was the food like?
Um, to be honest, I didn't eat too much German food. Of course, there was like a lot of like sausages and stuff.
Saw a lot of
Uh,
pictures of sausages.
yeah, pretty much, yeah. I mean, at EA Play, we had a lot of pictures of bananas. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, but I think the food is not bad. It's just that I didn't really like eat German food while I was there.
You're all about the McDonald's and the.
Not necessarily McDonald's, but burgers and stuff like that. I mean, why not?
Absolutely. No, it's definitely one of the, I'd like to, yeah, I'd like to go and visit, to be honest. It'd probably be a really interesting place. A lot of history there as well. I can see why the guys would be getting on their mopeds and going for a little tour around, to be honest. It sounds like quite a lot of fun. So just moving forward again, just bringing it back into the content creation side of things.
Mhm.
In terms of balancing IRL, because it sounds like you've got a pretty busy life in real life. How do you find that sort of being a content creator, finding enough time to play the game and meet up with your friends and enjoy it, and as well sort of keep up to date with everything in real life? How do you find that all balances out?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't find a balance. Like I really can't do everything that I want to do. There's a lot of stuff that I maybe should be doing, but that I simply don't have time to do. And I'm missing out on a lot of stuff, and at the same time I'm doing a lot of stuff. So it's I guess there's a balance in itself, but I wouldn't say that I have a balance between everything.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, I think that's often the way for most people in the 21st century, isn't it? We're split with so many different paths and avenues of things that we want to do, but we all, we can only apply ourselves so much. Are there any techniques that you utilize, or is there anything that you try and do to sort of free up more time, or do you have to, literally, is it very discombobulated and you just sort of apply yourself and create your content as and when you can around life?
Yeah, I kind of have to adapt, to be honest. It's a lot of nights where I'm sacrificing a lot of sleep. It happens a lot, sadly. It shouldn't be that way. I'm just hoping that once I'm done with university, at least I'll have more time to focus on other stuff. At the same time, I don't exactly know what I'm gonna do once I'm done with university, which is gonna be in December this year. But at least I know that I need more time. So if anything, I'll have that.
No, absolutely, and that's well. Hopefully, I mean, I would say university will probably give you a little bit more structure, but my university was very my days were very unstructured. I was just here, there, and everywhere. But I still managed to fit in some Battlefield 2, but definitely not quite as much as I would have liked to have done. So, I mean, right now, obviously, you come out with some amazing content. It's very high quality. What kind of equipment have you got?
Um, are you talking about like my computer specs or like my mic or
Yeah,
like
sort of everything, really. Yeah. What are you rolling with?
I could list you my specs if you want, man.
Yeah, I mean that would be great.
Sure. Okay. So right now, inside the PC, I have a 1070. I have an i7 4790K, 16 gigs of RAM, two SSDs, two HDDs with 3 terabytes, and one is 1 terabyte. I have the microphone is called Behringer C1U. It's not the best microphone. But it's not the most expensive one either. I think the quality is good for the price. When it comes to peripherals, I have a Logitech G403 and a Razer Black Widow Battlefield 4 edition, of course. It actually says Battlefield 4 on my keyboard.
Nice.
Yes. And I have a HyperX headset.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, that's what I have.
That's a pretty cool setup, man. And yeah, you've got a lot of high-end stuff going on there, really. I've just got the same webcam, so I'm hoping to get that probably on Monday, possibly Tuesday. But I've got to get a green screen from somewhere. I don't even know where to get green screens from. Possibly gonna have to like paint my wall. It's not even my wall. I rent it, but I'm not getting my deposit back.
To be honest, if you're wanting to use a green screen, the lighting is more important than the actual green itself. Of course, you need the green, but the lighting is the most important component. So I would say don't invest too much into a green screen itself. Invest mostly into lights that you can use for the green screen.
Sure, right, you are. So okay, so do you need? All right, I didn't realize that, to be honest. But okay, so I'm gonna obviously have to go away and watch a YouTube video on this. But right, you are. I will definitely get that locked down. I mean, and this brings me on to the next question. So sorry if it sounded a bit confusing while I was asking you to list your equipment, but I know like one of the things that for a lot of because again, I want to sort of help people that are just getting into content creation, just sort of taking the first steps, and utilizing the knowledge and experience from people like yourself is absolutely invaluable. How did you build up that equipment? I know you touched on it a little bit before, but did you build it up gradually, like incrementally, or did you just go all out and buy it all at once?
No, it was definitely gradually. I mean, like I said, I got the money for it first of all, going to like a Christian camp, I think it's called. After that, we have this. Oh, I dropped out for a second.
Yeah, you're good. You're back.
Yeah. So that's basically like how I got the first money. I got a PC that was kind of like mediocre. Some parts were like secondhand, but then I upgraded like one component at a time and sold the component that I replaced. Like got some more money for Christmas the same year, I believe. I just kept upgrading gradually.
Yeah.
And worked a bit during like the summers and stuff like that. And I just kept upgrading my setup. Oh yeah, I have to mention as well. I also spent like over 200 euros on a DX Racer chair, because that's how you become good at video games.
Right. Okay. I mean, I haven't spent 200 euros, but I did spend about £100 on my chair, and I have to admit I'm so glad that I've got a decent gaming chair, because and this is the thing to take into consideration, guys, is we spend a lot of time sitting down and gaming. Realistically, it's really unhealthy for you. You can mitigate a lot of the unhealthy side effects of gaming by getting a decent chair and getting good lumbar support and having good posture, and that's sincerely something that I would recommend everybody does. Because it'll save you a lot of hassle in later life. Yeah, definitely, you've got to be comfortable when you're gaming, to enable you to hit that full level of concentration.
Oh yeah, especially when you sit down for so many hours, it's very important. And I mean, my mom is like a health freak as well, so like she actually bought me a desk that is like you can stand up while using the desk.
Yeah,
exactly.
Got them at work.
So I have that as well. To be honest, I don't use it as much as I should, but I have that at least.
Do you find it's harder to? I mean, I don't. I've done it a few times. I've stood up in the room and I've tried to game just to see what it's like, and it is a different experience to sitting down and gaming.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah. What do you think? Because have you ever tried it? Have you ever applied it for a long period?
Yeah, I've tried doing all kinds of different stuff like while standing up. To be honest, it kind of feels. It feels different for sure. I mean, it's the same like muscle memory in your hands and whatnot, but it still feels different.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if you would do it more often though, you would get like more used to it, of course. So it's just a matter of getting used to, I would say.
Absolutely. Like with any kind of fitness training, it's just about using those muscle groups, isn't it, really? And I think you notice the effects after the sort of first week, 2 weeks, really, where things do get. I think your posture would get a lot better. But I know it's one of the things I'm very aware of these days, because I used to be a sloucher, having spent, hundreds of thousands of hours video gaming. So definitely not healthy. Just to bring it back into a little bit of Battlefield here, you obviously have released a video recently about the new maps and about the content that you saw at Gamescom. Moving forward, specifically with Battlefield esports, obviously things are really, really, really confusing right now, and I cannot get ahead of what exactly is going on. Are you able to shed any sort of light on that? Are you able to give us any sort of context on where we're at with the 5v5 and the RSP from Gamescom?
Yes. So I actually spoke to one of the community managers right after I saw the whole 5v5 stuff and so on. I can't share everything we talked about, but what I can say is that we will get to hear more soon. I know everyone hates to hear that, but like I actually tweeted to him on Twitter, and he responded and said that basically they want to actually listen to the competitive community moving forward when it comes to the tools that they're going to be giving us with private games. So like once we do hear more about the private games, you will also hear more about the stuff you're asking about.
Yeah, no, that's good to know. I mean, that's kind of where I figured we would be at right now, because obviously I think we have proved that there is definitely a base for Battlefield esports over the last sort of between Battlefield 4, Battlefield 1 and Battlefield 5, not so much, but only because we haven't got private servers or any outlet. You've been involved heavily in competitive Battlefield over the last few years. Do you think moving forward we've got a good chance of making something potentially?
I think we have a chance of making something for sure. I don't know if it's a good chance, to be honest, with this game, because I think there are a lot of things that have went against this game in its lifetime already after 10 months. I think, of course, we can make stuff happen, but I don't think it's gonna be to the level that we all want it to be at least not with the right tools and the right amount of time. And I feel like it's soon like 1 year after release of Battlefield 5, so it might not be too far away for the next title. I would rather say that like we should hope for private games from the beginning in the next game.
Big one, that.
And actually build from there. I still think we should definitely do something with Battlefield 5 once we get the tools. 100%. We definitely should, and we should do our best. But we won't have the same chances as we will with the next title. And I think that's important for everyone to keep in mind. Like whatever attempt you see with competitive Battlefield 5, it's not its full form of competitive Battlefield for sure.
Sure, no, absolutely, and again, they're gonna have to lock it down one way or another, really. But I think you are possibly right there. We have possibly passed that time frame now, or that period where we're still waiting on core features that should have been a month one release. RSP, PSP, I do not know whose decision that was to step away from that, why they thought that would be a good idea, but they need to reflect. That's one of the areas that we need EA and DICE to. I think it wouldn't be unreasonable for them to release a statement just saying, look guys, we recognize that on this and this we were wrong, and we recognize that, and moving forward we're gonna listen to the community on this, and there's not even any need for an apology, because I don't mind EA DICE being innovative, trying to change up Battlefield for the better, doing because I know that whatever they've done, whatever decision they made, it's not malicious. They genuinely want this game to work. It's their paychecks, it's their future, it's their investment. But I just hope beyond all things that I've seen come from Battlefield 5 that they take away from this that RSP is an absolutely definitively underpinning feature.
Oh yeah, so what I can say actually is that they for sure know, and they for sure see the potential in competitive play and even esports with Battlefield, as well as of course the outcries recently, and well, not just recently, but from the community, and for sure they have seen that, and I know for a fact that they actually do listen to the community, even though it may not always seem that way, and it may not always reflect like directly into what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I can also say that they want to say a lot of stuff that could calm a lot of people down, and they would also like to probably say a lot of stuff that we have already said and that we keep saying all the time. But EA is a huge company and they have a huge legal department, and it is a lot more complicated than a lot of people think, sadly. And I truly wish it wasn't that way, but this is the reality.
Yeah, no, absolutely, you're right, and that's the thing that we perhaps in the community don't see is that sort of wider picture of they've got to please so many people. They are not just pleasing the Battlefield community here; they're pleasing their investors, they're pleasing the developers. There's a lot of different parties involved here that have got across the board that have got to walk away happy from this. But I mean, just to tie it back in with yourself there, Slendy, what is your sort of history with competitive Battlefield?
Sure. So in Battlefield 4, I was first of all playing alone a lot of the time. I had a few friends that played on PC, obviously, but not too many. One day, like at the end of 2014, I decided to like go on Twitch and watch some Battlefield 4. And I saw that like the ESL 1 finals for Battlefield 4 was live on Twitch. It was like the #1 stream. So I clicked on it and I watched it and I was like, wow, this is some really cool stuff. I really wish I could play in something like this. So I started asking around, like people around the stream, like what what is this and how can I get into this? Someone told me to Google this like clan/community called 21st Century Warfare. So I did, and I joined up with that community after signing up. And then I played some scrims. This was like large scale stuff, like 32 versus 32, competitive Battlefield 4. I played those scrims for about half a year. We had like one every weekend. And then I realized like this is actually not exactly what I was looking for when I saw the like after I had seen those offline finals for ESL 1. So I actually started looking into ESL 1 itself, and I ended up on the ESL Play website and the ESL forums. I didn't know like any actual competitive players at the time, so I couldn't join any team. Like nobody wanted to play with me, obviously, because I had like no competitive experience except for these like 32 versus 32 scrims. And that led to that I basically had to create my own team. And funny story, my first ever like official 5v5 match was against Fnatic. And that is basically the team in Battlefield 4 that won 5 out of 7 world championships. That was my first ever official match.
Nice.
And it was live, and it was live streamed in front of 10,000 viewers on Twitch, on the ESL Battlefield 4 Twitch channel.
That's pretty goddamn nice. As a debut match, that's damn nice.
That was the perfect like start to competitive Battlefield. So like we kept playing like that season of ESL 1. It was ESL won summer 2015 that season, and we actually ended up as the 11th team in Europe, which meant that we got to move into the group stages, where we were actually like 2 matches, like 2 wins away from qualifying for the offline finals of ESL 1 in Germany. Even if we would have done it, I wouldn't have been able to go because they had a 18-year age limit. So,
God.
yeah, but I mean, we didn't make it through either way. And yeah, that's probably like the closest I ever got to ESL 1. The last ESL 1 season, I didn't even play in Battlefield 4 because I didn't have like 5 active teammates. That's something I've always struggled with, like after I created my own team, like having active teammates. And that didn't get better until Battlefield 1, when I joined up with a community that also wanted to get into competitive Battlefield, which was called Semperfi. So I was part of Semperfi, and played like Battlefield 1 with them. I moved over there with like one other player from the team I was playing with in Battlefield 4 called Savage. So me and him joined up with some other players in Semperfi, and we played pretty much every single Battlefield 1 there ever was on PC. Like from the start of Battlefield 1 to the finish of Battlefield 1. So I played in every single one.
That is incredible.
Yeah, and
that is a really good resume.
Yeah, and the first match in Battlefield 1 was actually a Hardcore League match, because Hardcore League was the first organizer to organize a PC match for Battlefield 1, and this was on public servers, mind you, back in the day, you know, like in 2017. So yeah, and we played that. Then we started playing like 5v5 domination once private servers came out. Then incursions came around. We played incursions under Semperfi for about 5 or 4 months. Then we actually realized that we want to try something more because we were actually doing pretty well. So we actually went out and looked for like an actual organization, and I think we became like the only and the first team to actually have a like a legit team contract for
Nice.
Battlefield incursions. Which was with Legion Gaming, which we signed back in April of 2018. And yeah, we played under them. And yeah, that was basically until the reveal of like the alpha of Battlefield 5, and yeah, then Battlefield 5 came out and stuff. And I think during my entire like time of playing Battlefield 1, I don't have anything worse than a semi-final placement, like in all the tournaments I played. So yeah, that I'm pretty proud of that.
Nice. Do you have any specific moments that you remember with fondness or terror from any matches?
Actually, during the Esports Hub semi-final, we played against a guy called Hopsox and his team. So it was actually such a close match. I remember it so well. It was a best of 3. We won the first map. They won the second map. We moved into the third map. We won the first half by, this was on Amiens and incursions, so we won the first 2 sectors in the first half. In the second half, they pushed the first objective. So basically, our only chance, like to not tie this up or to potentially lose, was to hold this next sector, like 100% hold the sector. So I think they had about 17 tickets, and at one point we only had one of our players alive. His name is Fullscard, and he was our raid leader. And he actually managed to stay alive, like alone, for long enough for us to spawn back in and save the flag from being captured.
Beautiful.
Then we squad wiped them. We pushed them back into their spawn, and then we won the semi-final.
Oh my man, that's like, they could make a film out of that, you know? That'd be incredible.
It wasn't even casted. Like that's probably the closest and like one of the best matches I played, and it wasn't even casted.
Oh, that's such a shame, man, because it sounds like I
Yeah,
probably would
I
have
happened to
fallen off my
record it though.
chair.
Like they have the clip uploaded on YouTube. So
Oh, well, maybe, I need to go back and do some kind of post-commentary shoutcast on it, get some Oh My Days thrown in there.
yeah, I mean it's only my point of view though. That's like one like match I remember
I
very
mean,
well. And
these are the moments that I love about Battlefield. It's just that when you are just one with your squad and you just have that absolute, just cohesion, lockdown, and you're just running through an enemy sector, popping people off left and right, covering your boys. And that is just where the game comes alive for a lot of us, and I know a lot of people. You say you don't play it for the immersion, but come on, man. When you get those moments, like it must get you pretty
oh yeah,
friggin' moist.
yeah, of course. I mean, I was so excited. Like we were all like so happy when we won, and it was just incredible.
Yeah. What advice would you give for any sort of, any new player that's looking to get into competitive Battlefield, looking to take it the full hog and sort of go competitive and go professional? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, so sadly, right now, how competitive Battlefield works and how it has worked ever since I started is that when you join, you a lot of the time have to play against the very best teams that exist. So you can't really have any smooth start into competitive Battlefield at the moment, which means that if you're not experienced with it, you are most likely gonna get wrecked for a long time before you can fight back. So what I would say is just like try to join up with teammates that you can rely on, people that play the game regularly and show up, not people that show up just when when they want to, but actually teammates that you can rely on, and get to know those people, maybe play other games with those people, become a really good friend with
Yeah.
those people, and yeah, rely a lot on your teammates is very important when you start out, because those are the people that you will learn the most from, apart from the enemies, of course, and where they kill you from. But yeah, that's definitely one big advice I would give: rely a lot on your teammates.
Absolutely. I mean, that at the end of the day is what a lot of it comes down to, guys, is your ability to play with a cohesive team that jumps on regularly. None of this cross teams party stuff going on. You've got to lock down your communication, you've got to lock down your gameplay, you've got to become one. And for a lot of us, that's something that we're used to. It's something that we take for granted because it's been something we've been doing for years with the same people, and we know how these people work, inside out. But for the new guys, for the people looking to step out there, we cannot, understate this enough, how important it is to get involved and immerse yourself with the community and with a team, or just with, a regular group of people that play together informally. Hell, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Like I would also say, like, one really big tip is, if you can, watch competitive matches, like casted ones, and also gameplay from competitive players. Watch what they are doing and watch how they react to different scenarios. I think I've probably watched more matches than a lot of other competitive Battlefield players, because in the beginning, when I didn't have any experience and nobody wanted to pick me up, it's basically the only way I could learn. I didn't even have teammates to rely on, so that's what I did. I watched a lot of matches, and I learned a lot from that.
Absolutely, and as I say, guys, the places to catch those matches, there are lots of competitive Battlefield leagues out there that will give you the opportunity to go out and check them out. Just get on YouTube, type in competitive Battlefield, and it'll put you in touch with all those leagues, all those channels. Of course, you can check out my own shoutcast down below at the YouTube link that I've got below the stream if you want to subscribe, and you can check out some of my previous matches. I personally believe that moving forward, we are going to see a better Battlefield, especially once they lock down the bugs in Chapter 4. I believe we are now seeing a delay put in for the Chapter 4 release due to some critical errors being discovered. But I think it's better that they discover those errors now and delay the release, and then they release it on time, and we discover those errors post-release, and it becomes an apocalyptic issue. So that is possibly the pretty much all the summing up we can do on Chapter 4 right now. Obviously, we've got Province and Lofoten coming out. What are your thoughts on the actual maps?
They're a lot more sort of my style, I would say, since I prefer close quarters combat, of course.
Yeah.
However, I have to say that since they are like reimagined and like reused, repurposed is the right word. Since they are repurposed for another game mode than what they were originally built for, you will notice that once you play the map and compare it to the actual trailer for these maps, it will look very different. So that's something I'm quite saddened about, but at the same time,
Yeah.
I'm at least glad we're getting more close quarters combat.
Right, you are. No, I mean, yeah, absolutely. And it would be good to get down to that gritty street-to-street combat. Because again, I saw your video on it, and I noticed how, yeah, they're pushing everyone out into the street. There's not so many accessible buildings, which is stepping away from how Battlefield normally runs things. They normally like especially with Marita, which is very gritty room-to-room combat in some aspects of the map. You know, you get onto that Bravo objective. You know, or the objectives, some of the other objectives towards the town and the harbour, and it gets very gritty, very, you know, a lot of meleeing going on, that's for sure, a lot of pistol action. You know, it's an absolute meat grinder. But how did you find the actual street fighting by comparison? Have they thrown in lots of cover, or is it going to be just very linear, plain alleyways?
They do have like a lot of like long range angles on the streets, but you definitely have like enough cover on the sides of the street that you can like hide behind or like run into, like alleyways, for example. So I think there's enough cover in that sense, but on the actual streets themselves, you don't have very much cover.
Sure, and I mean, that's one thing that does slightly concern me, and I think possibly here what we could see if EA DICE took this route is them introduce a lot more sort of fortifications, maybe, you know, at a street level. But by the signs of it, it doesn't sound like they're going to do that.
No, I didn't really notice that you could build fortifications on the streets either.
You know, like sandbags or cover or anything.
To be honest, I think the best cover that you can use is simply smoke. Smoke grenades should be your best friend when you play maps like that, in areas like that, at least.
Sure.
So yeah, I think that's what you can do. Smoke
and cover from teammates, MGs and snipers, I would imagine.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. So no, that's pretty much it on the map front there, guys. But I'll just actually no, I do remember you touching on. I believe there is going to be some rooftop access. What are your thoughts there?
Oh yeah, there's a way to climb onto well, if we're talking about Province, there's a way to climb onto the church roof, and I don't think that's really. I don't know. I don't like that. It shouldn't be a thing for an infantry-only map. Going up there and camping too much, in my opinion. And I hope that they remove the access to that, to be honest. When it comes to Lofoten Islands, I wouldn't say it's as big of a problem because it's a lot more open, and if you go on the roof, you can get shot from almost 360 degrees on that map. But yeah, I don't know. At least on Province, I would say they should probably take another look at that.
Yeah, no, that's definitely what I took away from your video. There is one of the issues that I think, like you say, it's fine if the enemy team's got armor and you need to be able to bait that armor. But when it's infantry only, it changes up the dynamic of what's required, and that definitely seems a little bit surplus to requirement. But maybe EA DICE just wanted to throw it in there as a wild card, a little bit, you know, to mess with the teams, just to sort of, you know, change up the dynamic of that specific part of the map. Who knows? But yeah, definitely. Looking beyond Province and Lofferton, did you get a chance to play any of like the Metro map, or have we got any more news on the Metro map coming out?
Yes, I got to play one round of the Operation Underground map because I was actually gonna jump into the 5v5 match that we organized. And yeah, so I played one round of the Operation Underground map. They have made some very good changes to it. So the video I made after EA Play, when I talked about the map and like the current layout, is actually kind of invalid at this point because they made some pretty drastic changes, I would say. Now I recognize the like older versions of Metro a lot more in it, but at the same time, it feels like a new map. So I feel like with the right restrictions on the map, with private games, it's going to be good. Look at Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4's Metro. There were a lot of servers that put restrictions on like explosives and shotguns, for example.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is definitely needed for this map as well, because I noticed a lot of that in the one round I played.
Yeah, I mean, well, that should be. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how that map drops. Did you get the impression that they were going to have any outside area of it? You know how Metro used to have the map, the street, or do you think it's going to be an exclusively closed tunnel?
Oh no, it's outside as well, like outside and inside.
Awesome.
You definitely have an outside area on both sides of the Metro, just like the older versions.
No, that'll be interesting though, because that was definitely one of the fun parts of Metro, was being able to flank round, get through the enemy's front lines, and it was a very unilateral approach. You know, there was no real flanks as such. You know, as long as you had a team that was locked down and covering all the exits and monitoring the map, then you could lock it down. But, you know, it was so fun to run as like a Navy SEAL squad or, you know, a Delta Force squad, you know, just capping people in, you know, get in. And then when you did actually manage to get behind enemy lines, you know, you had a lot of very good fun. So, no, definitely a good map. Miss it very much. And I know it's definitely, it's got to be up there as one of the most most successful Battlefield maps in history of Battlefield. I'd put it up there, definitely. But right, we'll wrap it up there, I think, because we don't want to take too much of your time. I appreciate you're a busy guy, but I just really want to take the opportunity to thank you for giving up your time, PresidentSlendy. Really, really do appreciate you guys stopping here, dropping your knowledge. I know a lot of people who are going to find the information that you've given us this evening, you know, really helpful moving forward and getting themselves to where they want to be. You know, want to wish you the sincerest best luck in the upcoming months, and look forward to seeing what content you have coming up soon. Do you have any closing messages for your fans?
I didn't know I had fans. I guess I could say that, well, first of all, again, I'm thankful for the invitation, and thank you for having me on. Second of all, I guess I could say that I feel like once we do get the private games, everyone should definitely, you know, take a revisit to Battlefield 5 if they've left it for some time, because I feel like that will actually improve the experience a lot. Definitely make sure to check out the attempts we'll be doing with competitive play, and don't be too disappointed if it's not exactly what you expected, because we don't really have the same sort of prerequisites. Can you say that? Prerequisites? As when a Battlefield game launches. So yeah, that's what I would say. And once again, thank you.
Oh, anytime, my dude. No, it's really been great getting you on board. I've really enjoyed having this conversation with you. Feel like I've definitely taken a lot away from it. And in the meantime, guys, I'm going to be sending you over to a good friend of mine. He's known amongst a lot of the community. He is very well respected. You might be familiar with the name. If you're not already, and you haven't already done so, please hit this gentleman with a follow. Sincerely, do hit that follow, guys, because he is an amazing streamer. Going to be hitting up Steez McQueen, guys. None other. All right, peace out, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for another amazing episode here at Shots Fired Podcast. Goodbye.